Well, the world is caving in, and in the words of Adele in that Bond theme music, when it's Jai Swall, Australia crumbles. Siri and Alexa both confirmed that sorry, but Bumrah is unplayable right now, as things get so bad that even Kohli scored 100. So where to for the Australian cricket team? Are Steve Smith's eyes oil or acrylic based? Does Marnus need a spell? Does he need more time in the backyard? Does he need to not bowl bouncers anymore? Is Josh Hazlewood saying there's a rift in the side, or simply saying, boys, any fucking danger? Cam Green's a good player, isn't he? Best since Ponting. It's all well and good that we should drop every single player and burn their carcasses as they sail into the sunset on the ocean of the Australian public's tears. But who do we bring in? How many runs will Bancroft need playing for the Sydney Thunder before he opens at the Boxing Day Test? We revel in the meltdown. It's been a few years, so come along and laugh with us, because we had some good times, didn't we? Come on, enjoy the meltdown. Glenn Maxwell is on the show and on the couch and in studio, all the same thing, to tell us how to melt down properly, bat properly. There's also New Zealand, England, WBBL, Sheffield Shield, and Zimbabwe beat Pakistan before AskTGC. This episode is brought to you by Smith Optics Australia. You can use the code FAST for 25% off your order at smithopticsaustralia.com. Pezza, we saw so many people in Smith Optics out in the west out there in the bright blue sky, and they were covering tears. The Smith Optics were covering tears of the Australian public. Cry me amore. My goodness me, the meltdown has begun, and we are here for it.
We certainly are, he goes. And look, it'd be lying if I, said we weren't welcoming something different to talk about, because the Australian team has just been, metronomically successful. And so calm and measured and emotionally intelligent for so long. There's scarcely been anything more to discuss. They line you up like 9 pins, they knock you down. And now we have a meltdown on our hands, and we can traverse it entirely on this show. We can traverse the media reaction. We can traverse our actual thoughts, which we'll keep to a minimum because they're not as interesting. And we can get ourselves ready for 5 test matches of just introspection.
And the summer starts at the Adelaide Test match. I cannot wait for the summer to start. Now, if you want to get behind TGC, now that the summer has begun, well, it will do in a couple of days' time for the first Test match there in Adelaide. You can get behind TGC on Patreon at patreon.com/Grade Cricketer, or you can do it on Apple, where you can sign up there just on your Apple feed. You know how that works. In fact, if you just go to the Grade Cricketer feed on Apple, and you can see how it all works, and get behind TGC, support TGC. And let me tell you, on Patreon, if that's the way you want to do it, the chat has been absolutely flying the last few days.
It's popping off.
Yeah, that is a community of like-minded individuals.
Alexander Popoff. No, genuinely. I don't think the chat on Patreon has ever been so fervent, so subscribed, quality and quantity through the roof. If you do want to join like-minded individuals in the kind of you want to apply the grade cricketer prism, the grade cricket prism to what is happening or what has happened to this Australian team, join up patreon.com/grade cricketer. There's a lot of good solutions there and a lot of disturbing solutions too.
Quite a lot. Now, this week's Wasted Saturdays, please get your clips in. And if you want to send in just highlights of the Australian guys getting out, that may feature. Hey, the live shows kick off this week. We'll see you guys in Adelaide for the first show there on Thursday night. So looking forward to that. Greg Blewett on stage. Spoke to Bluey, the cricketer, not the cartoon character, during the week, and he's looking forward to it as well. So there's that. Now, there are tickets only available, I think, for at best 3 shows, because Sydney, the Enmore Theatre, has sold out. We're so excited for that one. And our first night in Melbourne with Aaron Finch at the Forum Theatre has sold out as well. So there are tickets available for Perth at the Astor Theatre with Marcus Stoinis and Ash Nagar on Wednesday, the 4th of December. And as I understand it right now as we go to air, there are 5 tickets left for Wednesday, 18th December, Tivoli Theatre in Brisbane with our special guest, Matthew Hayden. So by the time you listen to this, they may have already gone, but that's where we're at with Brisbane Dare. So if you want to come along and see Dos on stage, get around the summer, and of course the summer may actually start at the Brisbane Test match for the first Test match there as well, where the season should start, I should say. Tickets available in the link of this description for audio or the video, or gradecricketer.com or Ticketek. In fact, I think with Brisbane, it's actually Ticketmaster. And our final show in Melbourne, Thursday, 9th of January, with our special guest, Peter Siddle, at the Forum Theatre. Tickets, gradecricketer.com or Ticketek.
Can I just say, in addition to Peter Siddle's guesting on that show, a special announcement to those coming to the Sydney show and both Melbourne shows, particularly for fans of our spin-off show back in August, I believe, or July, Morning After Paris. Opening these shows, an actual comedian, Huey, will be on stage. Tim Hewitt, if you watch Morning After Paris, where Huey shone like the desert sun, he will be opening for us on each of those 3 nights on stage there at the Enmore Theatre and both nights at the Forum. So if you're looking for an extra reason to get one of those tickets for that second Forum show that are out there, and they will go by the time the show comes around, just know that Huey will be opening it up with his comedic stylings, and we can't wait for that either.
So there you go. The summer has begun and the meltdown has begun as well. So if you want to meltdown with us or just with the Australian public, these are ways to go about it. Now, Crash Craddock has said this.
That's where we're going to start. Good.
He said this. The trouble with being a nice cricket team, inverted commas, is you don't scare anyone. This is the central reason why the Australian team has lost its secret weapon. Its aura of intimidation.
Yes.
Now, I'm coupling this with Mark Taylor calling Jaiswal Jaswali.
That's the way to do it. We need more mispronunciation of opposition names. I love this. Like, the moment they lose a game, and let's be honest. I mean, this wasn't just a loss; it was the wrong kind of loss.
It was
okay. We discussed that in terms of runs and wickets and stuff. It was the wrong kind of loss.
We were embarrassed.
It felt seminal. It felt meaningful. It felt systemic. It felt like it shone a light into crevices of family history that you just don't want to know. You know, like So, notwithstanding that, I do like that. It's like, you know, they're just too nice. It's like where was that criticism when literally the same team won everything?
Yeah,
it's so illogical that it's comical.
Yeah,
but I'm looking forward to that lobby in the next couple of days, hopefully a couple of weeks, because there is only one response to an Australian loss in cricket, and it's just to become a cunt. And I love that. You can have this skipper who has demonstrated objectively, empirically, over 4 to 5 years, you can win everything.
Yeah.
The T20 World Cup, admittedly under Finch, also a lovely guy. You can win the World Test Championship and you can win a one-day World Cup, both of those things overseas, by not being one.
Yeah.
But the moment you lose one game seminally, bring back the cunts. Too nice! We want Jaswali!
There have been so many tweets that have been sitting in drafts for 3 years, just waiting to be fired off.
Blokes are they're just blowing on pieces of paper, aren't they? Just dusting off their... It's going to be good. But, have we lost our aura? He goes, has the team in one fell swoop under, the harsh western skies, has the team lost its aura? And how does it bring the fear back?
Has it lost its aura? I don't know what that even means, really. I don't think people were coming out here and were being scared. I think like when we had the great team, people were scared because we were cunts.
Yeah.
So
guys are just big.
Yeah, they were big, and we had a really fast bowler, and the abuse that you'd get verbally on the field would be like, oh, I don't really want to be here. So I understand that, and that's the unfortunate thing about sledging is that it works. You know,
an actual doctrine of hostility.
Yeah,
physically through Matthew Hayden's bench press, etc.
Yeah, tremendous.
And verbally with Steve Waugh and everyone dropping down from there.
All of that, exactly. Hostile crowds, etc.
Yeah.
So, when we went about it a different way, when we started just being excellent and sort of moved away from that embarrassing behaviour. Some would say embarrassing behaviour.
Skillful.
We're just being skillful and just being, sort of wise, good etiquette. It's all a bit boring, isn't it?
Intelligent, moral, admirable conduct stuff.
Yeah, we've been saying for a while that that was all well and good, but as soon as they lost the game, this was going to happen. And lo and behold, now they have been absolutely pumped. Let's call that out in a way that don't even think this team would have even seen coming, given the skills of the players and the leadership and the coach and all that. But
well, none of us saw it coming. I mean, we're all piling on now, like we all knew it was coming, but no one called it.
See, like even Marnus's bounces, for instance, it's all a bit weak because he's not a very big guy. Like he's not a big guy because usually what he was doing is he was just filling in for Cam Green, who bowls big, and he is obviously big. and he bowls the right kind of bounces. I mean, at least they were decent. They weren't bouncing to Carey on the third bounce, to be fair. But so, like, when I think about that us losing that game, us being the Australian cricket team, because we're part of the team now.
It's them now to
by
me.
200, I distance myself from them and their performance and their political views. By 295 runs, you know, would they have lost the game by like 100 runs had they just been calling guys cunts?
Yeah.
You know, that's something to think about.
And frighten the Indians. I mean, yeah, there were a lot of like, concerning moments and symbols. You know, I'm not referring to Alex Carey who let through 22 byes, but that was because that's the deck in Perth. I'm being legit. Carey had a fine game, but there were like little things. You know, like Mitch Starc is our fastest bowler. He's the fastest we've got now in Australia.
Right.
You know, bowling under, again, the harsh western skies, which I will say 7 times in this show. You know, so when the 22-year-old Mumbai lad, Jaiswal or Jaswali,
or whatever the fuck,
says to him, "It's coming too slowly."
Yeah.
He wasn't just referring to the delivery. You know, he was referring to the entire kinetic energy of the Australians. Like, that's what's concerning. It's not just the loss, it's what it means. It's the nature of the loss. This is what India has done to us. It begs, you know, the holeless, bowless ripping up of the pyramid and the system, looking under the hood and seeing the fucking, you know, the wastage that sits within, you know, the decline, the you know, the end of days stuff that sits within. Like, there was more ignominy. You know, we hoped that the whole series would follow the path of the first day when, you know, like, you had Punter on comms talking about Devdutt Padikkal being locked off at the crease, and that's why he was, you know, giving slip practice. You know, next minute Ponting's in Jeddah, and, you know, like, James Brayshaw is comparing the problems of Australia's batter's footwork to, like, how well KL Rahul was doing it.
Yeah.
So, like, now we're being compared to the excellent footwork of Indian players on our own pitches. Like, who had that on the bingo card? And there must be a bingo card. Everyone's got one.
Yeah.
And now we're into the realms of, you know, what about fight? What about wanting it more?
Yeah.
You know, what about getting your head down? You know, have those things been discussed?
I saw some of the guys drinking water. You know what water is? Fucking weak.
Well, on that note, I wondered, I know people have been waiting for this, but like if we might discuss a few of the solutions available to the Australian cricket team. Now, this has come up in a couple of different areas, but I thought it was best captured on TV. This came yesterday, the 4th day of play. It was on our, you know, very own 7 commentary team, and I think it was summed up perfectly here. You know, a lot of the focus has been on Marnus. Labuschagne. He said the vultures are circling around him as a symbol of decline.
Right.
And a few suggestions have been flying around about how to fix this. So, Charlie, do you want to just hit that?
Let's use Marnus as an example, Finchie. Would he think about playing a club game? And would he think about saying, you know what, I just need 4 or 5 hours in the middle, so I'm going to go back and even if it's in the 2nd or 3rd grade, just time in the middle.
Mate, that's it.
How bad's he going?
Mate,
Minus in threes all of a sudden.
Forget ones.
Mate,
Get back to 2s and 3s.
One's a good standard, especially in Sydney Test cricket. Get him away from there.
I mean, let's take it a step further.
Yeah.
Why not? Why just Marnus? Why not all of them?
Yeah.
You know, why not all of them after this performance? Why not summon them back to the grassroots? Not 1s, 2s and 3s.
2s and 3s.
Scare these boys straight.
Yeah.
You know, what sort of things could these pampered headphones Aussie players look forward to if they were summoned back to 2s and 3s? You know, as you said, make them do fitness by running intervals around the inner circle.
Right.
Then when resting, berating anybody who decides to take the pre-prepared water that's there by saying water's for the weak.
Right.
You know? Make them take part in mundane fielding drills. Make them bowl in the 2nd or 3rd net to a mentally ill 6th grader who bats with rage in the nets, who slogs and gets out to 8 balls out of 9, but on the 9th hits the best slog you've ever seen. And then as he exits the net, has an aggressive exchange with the 1st grade captain, leaves training, never comes back, becomes a juiced up bodybuilder, jumps on his socials, and that's where you see a photo of him in nothing but pants, his shirt off, and a lit cigarette playing a forward defensive. You know, have the boys back in 2s and 3s, sitting in a stretching circle, listening to someone called Mudguts talk about his apartment, which he calls the cauldron, and the philandering that he does there, which is all good because he's recently bought a disco light. He's got a disco light in the cauldron, and don't the boys love it? And, send them back to 2s and 3s. Make them deal like men with the awkwardness of a club legend who comes to training to help out. And this guy's played a lot of Shield cricket and a lot of Test cricket in the past, but has an unfortunate proclivity for stealing cricket balls. He doesn't think anybody knows, but everybody knows that he does it. And when anyone talks about him, they say he's still stealing cricket balls. I think it's a good idea.
Send them back to 2s and 3s. Get them into the 2nd and 3rd net at training where they face one guy who's bowling in jeans for some reason. Exactly. Make them talk to a club member who you don't know how they're associated with the club, but they're always hanging around. Sometimes wearing an army jacket, just sort of in the distance of playgrounds and stuff. Have them talk to a guy that's always in 4th grade. You actually don't know his last name, but John's always been in 4th grade, right? And he's got a proclivity for Taiwanese prostitutes specifically. And he's a guy that's seen the world, well, just Southeast Asia specifically, but he goes there a lot, and his name's just John. You don't know his last name, but he's always been in 4th grade.
That's right.
You don't know whether he bats or bowls, but he's always there at training. Never seen him training, but he's always there.
Once every 3 to 4 games, at least, he'll suggest that the team be sponsored by a Taiwanese massage parlour, because he just has such an affinity for sad Southeast Asian sex slaves. Finally, something's happening with his team. We can get back in the boat. Have you missed us for a few years? We've been working hard.
We've been fucking bullshit when they want everything.
Fucking bullshit team with their emotional intelligence, their level-headedness, all of their winning. We haven't even had a fucking chance. Now we're back. I see that. Brayshaw's not the only one. I think
2s and 3s.
Will Swanton's out there you talk about Marnus. Will Swanton from the Australian saying the poor bugger's trying so hard to succeed, he seems destined to fail. Grade cricket is the go. The lesson in humility. The chance for enjoyment in a relatively pressure-free environment. Well, he doesn't have a fucking clue about grade cricket then, does he?
He hasn't got a
I'm not saying it's on-field pressure.
Yeah.
Get back to basics. Get your own ducks in a row. I mean, there'd be more pressure in grade cricket for this Australian team than there would be their actual team, because their entire MO has been you do you, literally be yourself. Grade cricket is the opposite of that. Grade cricket is find out what the fucking way is of operating.
It's conformity.
To fit in, conform, do all of those things, completely distance yourself from your own personality so that you're accepted by a group of misfits, most of whom struggle in life outside of that.
And that's just parking the car on the way to the ground.
You made the mistake of waving at someone with your full hand when everybody knows you're only meant to raise at least one finger only.
Oh, I wonder if he's gay.
Is Sammy gay? You see the way he waved at me there? He has to be gay.
He obviously wants my cock.
Swanton goes on, hopefully Labuschagne can hit a few off the middle against medium-level trundlers who deliver half volleys for the good of Australian cricket. I mean, that is true about 3rd grade. Otherwise, he's far too up the creek to be saved. Now, Then Vaughan comes in. It'll be interesting to see what they do between games. I just wonder if Marnus Labuschagne, is it worth him going to play some grade cricket at the weekend? What's going like what the fuck's going on? Get out there and hit a few balls rather than arriving in Adelaide and facing the pink ball. Is it worth him just going back to his roots and playing a bit of grade cricket? So starting to feel sorry for Marnus. Yes, couple of options.
Imagine if you're playing, you got threes, you got Redlands on the weekend, you're playing third grade and Marnus Labuschagne turns up. Just by fourth start, you'll nick it.
That's right. Just get one. Just outie innie. Simple. Bumrah did it.
Yeah.
Poor old Marnus, eh?
Well,
so should we any other options?
Some actual thoughts or
Slug? Just beat him with Cox.
Yeah. How will this Australian side beat India? Let's just get a team full of the biggest dicks in Australian cricket. Something.
Some actual thoughts on what's going on.
Yeah, well, that's now that is an interesting one. Hey, if I could surmise the game from my perspective, and that'll be correct, and that'll be the correct way. So India win the toss and they have a stick first, right? And then they find themselves, 4 for spit. And actually 6 for spit, really. And at the moment where Tish Kumar Reddy could have been caught down the leg side, they would have been, they're looking at being all out for like sort of 110. He was on 11 at the time, I think, when that happened. He makes a really important 41. Rishabh Pant is dropped, would have been a really good catch by Cummins, but he was dropped. He had some extra crucial runs. So they scrapped their way to 150. And you think about, well, if Australia were really purring, if they were perfect, like they can be, and like they often have been the last few years, then they probably do bowl India out there for something around the 100, 110 mark, right? Except they didn't. And I just think about like Australia's performance. The very first ball of the game, Stark bowls an in-swinger to Jaiswal. It just misses leg stump and Carey misreads it and goes for 4 byes. The last wicket, who was the last wicket? I can't think of who the last batter out was, but Khawaja drops a catch 2 balls before he takes a harder catch. There is missed run-out chances in the game. Cummins obviously drops that catch off punts. There are numerous
buzzers.
There's some buzzers there as well. Numerous times throughout the game. There's instances where Australia's off from the beginning. So when Australia find themselves 7 for 67 at the end of play on day 1, chasing 150 in the first innings sense, all the story with the Australian side is like, well, Alex Carey needs to do something here. He's probably the form batter in Australia in the Australian Test lineup with what he's did in white ball cricket and for the Sackers. And as soon as he gets out first ball to Bumrah in the second over, with not a great shot, you would say, in the context of the first innings for both sides especially, the game felt over. Even though Australia managed to, Hazelwood and Stark managed to bat for 20 overs and get Australia to 104. So they're only 46 runs behind, but 46 runs in the context of what we thought the game was going to be. I think most people turning up to the ground on day 2 thought that it was possible that the game would be over that day. So then the wicket obviously became quite good for batting. Well, for one side anyway. And Jaiswal and KL Rahul got away to a pretty decent start. I'm talking about in the first 8 overs. Yeah. And so then the lead became 100 quite quickly, and there was still none down. And then the game was just completely gone. Yet there was still 3 days of cricket to be played. Yet Australia was so far behind. Yet had they actually bowled India out for 110, going back to the first innings, and then got their way to 104, then they had the same innings.
And avoided the fading light, the Bumrah fading light scenario. If you bowl them out for 100, you've got half the day to bat. And India can't charge in, for 15 overs knowing they're going to be fresh overnight.
Yeah. So there was an opportunity to at least compete in the game. Now, what's happened in the game is Jaiswal's played just a fantastic innings of 160 in the third innings, tremendous innings. And Bumrah is a difference in the game for me, where I can't remember a bowler coming to Australia that's created as much fear.
Yep.
Either spin or pace. I reckon going back to maybe the West Indies in the 90s stuff. Like an electric bowler that you can tell the batters are like, this guy's going to get me out. So India have produced the outstanding performances in the game. They look like they have got better players for the conditions that we have provided in this test match anyway. So it's very alarming. Yet, when I look at how the game played out, I'm like, Australia could have competed, except like they just sort of, what's more alarming is that like they almost gave up. I'm not accusing professional cricketers of giving up and not trying. Of course they were trying, but like there was so much game left to be played, yet the game fell to formality as soon as Carey got out at the beginning of day 2.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know where you want to pick up with that.
No, like I think that the question over the game is like, was the Australian team subject to like a perfect storm of like India having the better of conditions, like making a few mistakes, paying for them and stuff, the team being a bit underdone, that they'll grow into the series, and Bumrah having, the spell of a lifetime on the best wicket for him to bowl on. That's, and I said this on the dailies, that's the best case scenario for Australia, that like all the chickens came home to roost negatively for them, or is it that like we, the decline is real and obvious and clear now. And so, I was wondering if we could just talk about Australia's batting, which I think is where like the rot commences. Like I noticed at the end of the game, Cummins is back in his boys. But I don't subscribe to the idea that like they've had an off day or like a rare stinker. Like Usman, Marnus, Smith, the top order, the Australian top order, like they haven't been doing the business at the level that we expect for a little while.
Yeah,
that's the truth. Like and that's been fine when oppositions have also struggled, so it's all relative. But here in the second innings, the opposition didn't struggle. Maybe the bowlers have been bailing them out for a while. But if you go through the team, and I do, even Usman, who's largely, understood to have basically had, like a second coming in his career, he's averaging 30 since the Ashes last year. Since the Ashes in England last year in 2023. He's played in that time, as they all have, Pakistan and the West Indies at home and New Zealand away. 0 hundreds, 250s in 16 innings. Turns 38 next month. Nathan McSweeney is not an opening bat. He's had one game. Right. Marnus is averaging 23 in that time. So, again, 16 innings. 0 hundreds, 450s. Smith's averaging 29 in that time. 0 hundreds, 250s. Travis Head is averaging 26 since the Ashes. 100, 150. And Mitch Marsh is averaging 42 in that time. 0 hundreds, 550s.
Interesting.
So we're not talking about a rare stinker from the team and from the top order. Now, Cam Green, who couldn't get a gig at the start of that Pakistan summer, he's averaged 50 since then. He'd lost his spot, came in and won that game in New Zealand with a knock of 174 red. And perhaps this is drawing a long bow, but, there's one player in there who's averaging 50 who's coming towards the peak of his career, and probably there's one other in the Aussie team, Head, who'd be at his peak. You'd think Marnus should be, but he's fallen away. And then the rest, are getting on.
Yep.
It really has the team, to me, it has it seems to have that air of like, particularly given they haven't played for 9 months. It sort of reminds me of when, remember Dizzy in the 05 Ashes?
Yeah.
Jason Gillespie was like just a weapon until then, sharp, incisive, complimentary to Glenn McGrath, and then just lost the yard, That's something it's a question you got to ask the team. But in all seriousness, like the hysteria around it is fun and like largely ludicrous a lot of the time, and it needs to be checked because we're one test into a 5-test series. I think that this team is likely to be given another go. They've been written off before and come back, but a number of them, particularly the batters, I think should be on notice. I think more broadly though that like you're sort of ignore, like you're kind of hiding yourself from the truth if you don't see that these are the embers of what has been a quality era. Yeah. This is we're not at the dying embers just yet, but they're embers. And my view broadly is like, don't be mad it's over, be glad it's happened. But there's been a perfect storm of situation to get to now. I think it's been coming for a while. Any thoughts on that?
Just completely agree with you on the batting. What is interesting, Alex Malcolm wrote a really great piece, as he often does for ESPN Cricket Info, and he noted, he only noted, he didn't present a comment with it, but that Cummins' last 4 test matches taken 10 wickets at 43 in largely favourable bowling conditions. And so like when our matchup with Bumrah is Cummins, right? So like in the great, every country's got an amazing fast bowler. Rabada, Cummins, Bumrah, Pakistan's got several good seamers. But so Cummins like being slightly unders the last few times he's been out for Australia. I think that when you think about Cummins, like when nothing's happening in the game, Cummins has come on and he's taken like a great caught and bowled, or he gets the wicket, and that hasn't happened the last couple of Test matches. But he was that's noticeably a poor performance from Cummins, which is rare. I think that is an aberration, even though last 4 Test matches hasn't been great. But I'd be
very surprised if he went back to back with bad performances.
Completely agree. Yeah. Completely agree. So that almost couples in with that sort of couples in with what's happening with the batting as well. So like Khawaja and Smith are old, right? Okay, so they're at the end of their careers. Now what's not helping is that like guys at their peak, to your point, Marnus and Head have also just like taken they've also dropped off. I mean, Marnus is like the drop off is incredible. Like it seems like there are so many ways to get him out now. Like he hung in as best he could. He faced 52 balls right in the first innings for 2 runs, whilst he was also dropped. So it's painful to watch. And I wonder like if he's being targeted by the broader public, because first of all he doesn't have as much social credits in the bank as Steve Smith, but also like the fact that he's bowling and the Australian team have adopted him as the replacement for Cam Green to come in and bowl a spell of bounces. It makes us wince as a public, and I think that's also probably affecting our perception of his role in the team. Just like there's a bit of carry on, which is fine when we're winning. There's a bit of carry on. The bowling is like, what are we looking at here, guys? Come on. Yeah. And then the batting has fallen away, whereas Steve Smith's batting is probably equally fallen away just about, but there's more social credits and he's not bowling bounces which bounce 3 times to Carey. So
Marnus is the last bloke that you need to be falling away, and he's a really curious case, because ordinarily, like dropping a guy with a Test average of 49 now, admittedly, has come down from 60. Seems insane, on the face of it, and particularly given it's a deeply aging team where several of them are going to retire. Can you actually afford to let even when he's in a real slump of form? If you're trying to build a team, not just for the short term, but, medium and long, can you really afford to be like sending your number 3 bat who's 30 years of age, like out of the team to bring someone else new in when a whole bunch of other guys are going to go? I mean, perhaps you should be looking at some of the guys who are really quite old before you get rid of your number 3 who's 30 years of age. Perhaps you should be backing him as much as people are annoyed by him. Anyway. But that's why him dropping off at this stage is like, it's particularly difficult. That's one they wouldn't have counted on. When you're 30 years of age, this is when you should be really at your peak. And there's probably, it's more of a whispered conversation, but you often see crammed into, print analysis of Marnus that he was dropped, 16 times out of 41 chances at the start of his career. This is kind of dog whistle that, like, perhaps his early record flattered to deceive. He's regressing to the mean. His average of 23 in the last 18 months might be more in line with where his abilities are. I mean, I think that is, that'd be really harsh. I'd defy anybody to like fake a Test average of 60.
He scored 12 Test hundreds. Yeah, pretty good
for 4 years.
Yeah,
on the basis of some drop catches.
Yeah.
So I think that's too harsh. But I think when the overall package of like, that fact combined with the irritation of his demeanor on field, combined with the fact that he becomes this kind of like symbol of decline as the Timu Cam Green bowling bouncers means that a lot of the focus is on him.
Yeah.
You know, I'd caution against getting rid of him, and I'd be backing him as much as there's carry on.
When we're talking about dropping all the team, which is obviously exciting, and they deserve it because they've hurt us. You know, the next part of that equation often is like, okay, so who are you bringing in? And then it's the same conversation with the McSweeney, Harris, Bancroft, Renshaw, Constas, Axis. It's like, okay, well, there are strong arguments for every single person not to be picked, basically. Yep. I've enjoyed the conversation, especially yesterday, when they're talking about who's going to replace these guys. It's basically down to who scored runs yesterday. It's like there is no consistency or form or pattern to deduce that a player is going to be able to bring it up to the next level, right? I think everyone kind of acknowledges that Constance has had a very exciting start to his Shield career, but like it's probably a little bit too soon. But all the other guys, I mean, I think as we're recording, Bancroft scored some runs, but I'm looking at like how Bumrah bowled, and it's like, well, I mean,
Warner already explained why he won't be in the side.
Exactly, yeah. So we're going back to all the same conversations again. But you know, Henry Hunt's name got mentioned. I think he scored some runs yesterday, maybe. So it's like, he should play.
That's that's the bigger. I mean, that's the actual conversation. And if Australia, if people's fears are proved true, and that it's not that they're falling off a cliff, that they have fallen off the cliff, and now we're going to watch it. We're going to watch the fall. The bigger question is the systems that have created this situation and the factors that have created this situation, and what comes next. You know, that's a meatier conversation. And like, I think one thing that's interesting in the current Australian setup is the extent to which that, you know, they prioritise and preference guys who are in the international setup, perhaps over Sheffield Shield. So like that includes guys who've been part of the white ball teams, etc. You know, it's why we see articles about Adam Zampa being in the mix for Sri Lanka, despite not really playing any first-class cricket of note, but doing well in white ball cricket. I saw Mark Taylor, aka Jazwali, sorry, that's another way of saying it, criticising that. You know, it's why Maxi, who we're about to talk to, is in the mix as well for his white ball exploits. It's why Josh Inglis is next cab. Now, Inglis has played well at the start of the Shield season. He averages in the mid-40s, in mid-30s, sorry, in first-class cricket. But, you know, because of his exploits around the international team and setup, he's trusted. He's inside that closed group, which has been so... I guess such a backbone of this Australian success, but also now leaves us thinking like if it has been a closed shop, no one's been able to get in. It means that the Shield players aren't ready, and you can make an argument, I think, that the Australian Test cricket, as distinct from white ball cricket, has been in a modicum of decline since almost the World Test Championship final and the early Ashes, from basically Old Trafford onwards. There's a trend there, but I wonder if the idea of the broader international setup mentality means that that fact of Test cricket decline has been clouded by the World Cup win, for example, right? Because what we've really thought is that this team under Cummins is just good and they win things, right? But the Test team hasn't been going very well for a little while. They haven't played really good cricket for quite a while, and they may be able to fix this, right? It's still early in the season, but if we zoom out, we whether they fix it or not, we can definitely say that the decline is on. We're in it now. And that might explain the McSweeney selection, getting ready for the next generation. Cam Green's absence exacerbates it. But look at the next generation. They are not investing in red ball cricket the way their predecessors might have, and with very reasonable cause, I think. Look at Jake Fraser McGurk's Insta. He just went for $1 million in Jeddah.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you as a young person go to the nets and be good at smoking 6 to 10 balls for an impact sub gig in the IPL for $1 million? That's a very real, very, very real incentive. And the reason I'm talking about that is because we're we're trying to answer the question, and we may be over the next few weeks, about why the cupboard feels a bit bare underneath. Like there are real systemic reasons why. And you're going to hear the golden generation or, predecessors generally say things like they should be going back to grade cricket. There might be silver bins involved, etc. As though those guys too wouldn't have chased millions in their early to mid-20s if they were given the opportunity. I think a modicum of empathy is required, as frustrating as this is. And the thing about this loss is it's weird. Like, I feel like they're exactly the same themes of concern that we had post-Gabba 4 years ago, which was like India threes have overwhelmed a full-strength Australia in our toughest environs. I want to say India threes this time around. That it wasn't, but they were missing 5 of their regular starters. Back then, we thought it heralded the arrival of the Indian millennia, the Asian century. They came here and disposed of us. But then, strangely, India just fell away. Like they were up and down, while Australia flicked a langer and won most things. So it was like, oh, okay, maybe this isn't a systemic issue that we're watching. But it feels like we're back there now. Although, while we focus on Australia, if I'm Indian, I'm just thinking, Christ, any danger of this kind of stuff when we go elsewhere? You know what I mean? How are we knocking over Australia in Perth in these circumstances and losing to New Zealand 3-0? What the fuck's going on? Can we just
can't win in South Africa?
Yeah, all this
Haven't
sort of
won in
stuff.
England
Because when you see India win like this here, in environments that are just completely foreign to the conditions they grow up in, you're like, oh, okay, the talent avalanche has arrived.
Yeah.
They're just going to overwhelm us across all formats, but they seem to struggle in different situations. But meanwhile, England watches on, and they're getting test matches into players. I think they're about to announce a selection of Jacob Bethel, who averages 25 in first class cricket. But Garfield Sobers says you should move to England, and and Lara says he's better than me at the same age. But they're watching Australia, going, fuck, we might be able to take on half an Australian team next year.
Yeah, I suppose what you're talking about there is a thinning of resources, right? So we've only got finite players and being spread out across 3 different formats, right? And it's interesting because I mean, how could you not say that we're not good at white ball cricket because we literally won the last 50 over World Cup? That's the thing that happens, but we're not great at T20s. Never have been. I just wonder if the current generation is just we're in that phase where the end of Ponting's captaincy, great team, etc., into the Clark years where they had some good players and won a World Cup there as well, but kind of middling again, and then we got a good team again, like this team has been. So maybe we'll just into that a half generation of just not amazing world class cricketers.
Yeah, and because it took a long time for Australia to reclimb that mountain, from the great Ponting team to Cummins taking over. We're happy to we could win at home, but didn't get the job done away. We won a home World Cup, but they really we would get dusted in foreign climates.
Yeah,
I tend to think that you ask yourself okay, if you've got a problem with the way this team's been managed, tell me how it should have been managed better. When should the succession planning have come in so that, guys at their peak are ready to go now for India? It's very difficult to answer that question. There has been a perfect storm where you're meant to, start regenerating the team post-Ashes. I mean, most people took the view that, although it would have been great to win that series, they still took home some excellent moments and it's difficult to win over there. And so, I don't know who you're meant to call out to say, that was the end. David Warner, that's arguable. They gave him a couple of extra test matches.
Yep.
So you got one player in there. You're not replacing the fast bowlers. They're fine. You're not taking off Steve Smith.
No. I mean, I think even the Warner one, I think the word is arguable, right? Because I think the truth is that the guys that are coming into the side now and they've been waiting to come into the side, just not that good. I mean, I think
But why?
That's a good question. But I think Warner has helped Australia win games of cricket in Australia. He helped win the Perth Test match last year, for instance. If he wasn't playing, let's say let's say Bancroft was playing a Test match. He was in great form last year. Perhaps should have been picked on the back of that. But I think the feeling was, and perhaps as it's been shown, just not quite good enough.
Yeah. And I think that's really the question is like, why is there no upward pressure on the Australian team? I think this team, right, they're going to cop a lot of shit, particularly if they can't fix it. And I think that they might fix it. All right, there's a chance. They've been written off before. I'm not writing them off after one test. But if they don't fix it, I think that there's going to be a lot. Like, I think we're going to be looking back on a situation where guys won a lot of things together. They earned the right to develop the kind of entitlement that allows them to hang on for a few extra years because of what they have won when they probably weren't the best players in the country, when probably it was best to replace them, even with guys who mightn't have been as good but are worth the investment. That's what happens when you win a lot of games of cricket. You sort of earn the right to keep your spot in the side. And the team, it's a very player power driven team. There's a big task ahead of those outside of the team with power to start breaking it up. If they can't get it done in Adelaide, I think. But you've got to give them a chance and a right of reply.
It's really interesting because when I think about the guys next in line that might come in, when I look at what that team looks like, I just can't see that being a better team than what the current team is. Yet the current team just put in one of the worst performances it's seen in Australia in probably 10, 15 years.
It's too soon to say, but if the India series is gone, then you're looking at the Ashes.
You're like what
So you bet, even if guys who are coming in aren't as good as the guys currently, it's an investment. You've got to get some test matches into guys.
It's a good point. It's a good point. They obviously go to Sri Lanka, which would be a completely different lineup. Then they go to the West Indies after the World Test Championship final. If they make it that far, who knows what happens? But it just seems like, I think India to make the World Test Championship final to guarantee they need to win in Australia 4-0, I think. So...
yeah. It must be, in terms of the forward planning for the team, it must be that, let's see if the guys can make it through to England. We'll dust them because that's what we do out here, and then we can everyone will leave and we'll bring everyone else in and be shit for the next 5 years. But, fuck, what a team it's been.
Maybe.
That's been the plan, and it's not, there are indications that it's being dismantled by a pretty good Indian team.
This episode is brought to you by Hubbl. Live sport integrated in one view across 8 apps. Hubbl Hub brings live and upcoming sport together in one view, so you don't need to go in and out of apps to discover where to watch your favourite games. Live and upcoming sport is also easily visible on the Hubbl Hub interface, helping you discover what to watch next. So you get sport and entertainment for less. When you buy a Hubbl Hub, get Netflix and KO Sports for the price of just KO Sports for 12 months. That's a saving of $7.99 per month for 7 months. You don't need an aerial.
12 months.
What did I say?
7 months.
That's wrong. 12 months.
It was a test for people.
$7.99 per month for 12 months. You don't need an aerial. No aerial needed. Watch free-to-air TV without an aerial.
Let me say it once again.
Okay.
When you buy a Hubbl Hub, get Netflix and KO Sports for the price of just KO Sports for 12 months.
12 months, not 7. It's 12 months.
That's right, for 12 months. That's a saving of $7.99 per month for 12 months. Hubbl Hub, the instant upgrade to your smart TV.
Steve Waughs' house is for sale, Pezza. Hey, Tugger.
Fuck, now I'm feeling safe.
Now there's a player. There's a player who can burn right through your soul with a couple of squinty eyes.
Yeah, well, I was reading domain.com.au, my Bible. And everybody else's as well.
Yeah.
For rentals, that is. That I can't afford. But and I did happen across the headline. Cricket legend Steve Waugh lists holiday home for sale. Now it's from his wife Lynette's side, and it's in Patonga, Central Coast.
A nice part of the world.
Nice part of the world.
Yeah.
Going on sale for 1.6 milli.
Same as Fraser McGurk. Trying to sell it for a JFG.
It's actually, as Steve Waugh mentioned in the article, it's actually where he used to go to recharge the batteries in between cricket season. I used to go recharge my batteries there. Yeah. Now, obviously, that's of interest to us because when Bradman put his sale up, we were talking about, I guess, hiring it from an Airbnb style situation for a bucks party or a stag, party, you know, and I'd say this would be of the same ilk.
Yeah,
you just come and side mouth the entire time.
Yeah, well, something to think about.
Another thing to think about amid amid a number of people shouting out those who used to bash the door down only for it to be made of reinforced steel and was never opened due to the Steve Waughs, etc. Dodgeball's been in the news. Brad Hodge.
Court case looms.
And I think this is quite symbolic, right? So, Hodgie there has been involved in an incident. I'm just reading. Two sources with knowledge of the incident, who would not be quoted publicly, said Hodge, a recurring part-time member of the Australian white ball coaching staff and former Test player, brought an e-bike into the dressing room after a recent game. Hodge then did a series of burnouts on the carpet, damaging the surface and resulting in a complaint from Cricket Tasmania. The bike had been used by another member of the support staff to get to Belrive Oval. Now, I think that's quite symbolic of the malaise Australian cricket finds itself in, you know. Some, woke soul of part of the modern setup has used an e-scooter to get to the ground, you know, a mode of transport that might be fuel efficient, save on the old carbon footprint there.
Right.
An old dodgeball, you know, part of the old guard who used to have to work his ring off to get, half a gig in the Australian side, did what you should do with an e-scooter. Fucking burnouts in the dressing room.
It's a good burnout, grandmate.
He's been asked to pay for this. But I think taking an e-scooter and just doing several burnouts inside a change room is exactly the kind of attitude the current Australian cricket team needs.
We should start a GoFundMe so he doesn't have to pay it.
I think so. 20 greatest burnouts. It is a good book. It is a good book.
Marnus is burnt out. Too much cricket.
I mean, there's something in this. There's some connection in this. But I thought Dodgeball deserved a shout out there. We should start a GoFundMe to back that up.
We're about to speak to Glenn Maxwell, and this episode, and the interview, in fact, is brought to you by Ponting Wines. In fact, all interviews this Australian summer is brought to you by Ponting Wines, pontingwines.com.au. And if you go on the website right now, you'll be able to find a Black Friday sale for the Pinnacle Shiraz. $99 off the Pinnacle Shiraz dozen. Oh, how good is that? I mean, there's also options here from like the Vogue, the best Father's Day gift according to Vogue, including the Adam Vogue there. Adelaide Hills Sauvignon Blanc 2024.
We missed him this week, didn't we? In the combox.
Yeah. Talking about Voges.
Well, of course. Yeah. I hear him whispered in dispatches as the next Aussie coach.
Oh, yeah?
Anyway, I'm not saying there's any pressure on McDonald right now. He's just re-signed.
Well, he's done good work with the Scorchies, to be fair.
I hear him whispered in dispatches.
If you're looking at gift-giving seasons around the corner, pontingwines.com.au, limited offer, 6-bottle collector's pack and bonus cricket ball signed by Ricky Ponting. That's a Ponting 366 Shiraz Cabernet 2020.
We're going to need his safety in the next
6 individually gift-boxed bottles, plus a signed Kookaburra cricket ball. There's also, a Ponting green cap with 14 on it, with a great calligraphy.
There's going to be some interesting things said in the next few weeks. I'm just thinking back to the wonderful SEN interview between Punter and Joel and Fletch, stand-up desk, 2 glasses of Ponting wines. Mm-hmm. I mean, what I wouldn't give for Punter after a couple of glasses running the rule over Australian cricket right now.
Fuck me dead. That does sound good.
All the Australians that he's signed for Punjab Kings in the IPL auction.
That does sound good.
You know, I just need the safety of Daddy. I need the safety of Daddy and his forearms. Yep. I want him just having a nice long glass of a Cab Sav there and a big bulbous glass, just telling me how things can be fixed. You know, I don't need him over in Jeddah in a fucking sleeveless Nehru jacket. Scared to say who's going to be captain because it's actually the owner's decision.
Yeah.
If you don't see a connection between those two things and what's happening in the Australian cricket team, then
can't help you.
I can't help you.
Thank you very much to Ponting Wines for bringing you Glenn Maxwell. Here he is.
What a pleasure it is to be joined in the flesh by one of the most gifted cricketers ever. World Cup winner multiple times. And he's just released a book called The Showman. We're obviously sloppy seconds because he's done all the media a couple of weeks ago. Yes. Second phase of interviews, but he found some time for us. Revealing our own ego there. But in the flesh, in studio, forearms and all, Glenn Maxwell. Yeah. Maxie, welcome to The Grade Cricketer.
Sorry, I'll get the sleeves up a little bit.
Yeah, get them up.
For you. Lovely to be here. I feel like we've danced around this idea for a while. Obviously, second phase, we had to give the media a chance to do all their stuff first, and then
So what are we? And then I'm going to come do the internet garage.
Yeah, the garage stuff.
come join the lads for a chat on the couch after everything's been released and it's done.
No, I'm sure you've been so used to discussing this book a lot, so we're going to try and make the interview as original as possible. So let's kick it off with just a contemporary issue to start with. There are several calls from pundits out there following Australia's catastrophic loss to India for Marnus at least, but we're saying the entire team to go back to not just grade cricket, but second or third grade. That was literally the suggestion on Seven commentary yesterday. If it's not first grade, twos or threes. What do you think about that suggestion following this loss?
Well, I went back to the second 11 at the start of this year, and it's pretty hard.
Do you feel like going back to the twos? That's Victoria twos. Do you feel like
at junction? So they're not quite the right type of runs as well. So
when you get them that's why you didn't score runs.
And I still couldn't get any.
Does it scare you straight to go back to the twos, just with the plebs who have part-time jobs? And that kind of
that's
thing?
the most nervous I've ever been. Going out there to bat and in front of a crowd of 7, 5 of my family. It's a tough level to go back down to. No energy, no atmosphere, and everyone's expecting you to make runs. It's just so uncomfortable. That's why I reckon the guys that go back to club cricket from Australian state cricket, it's such a hard level to go down to. Where if you just ply your trade in Premier cricket, it becomes pretty easy after a period of time, but it's so hard going back down.
And you're still literally talking about like state cricket second grade. No, the suggestion is like Marnus is back in Redlands twos and threes.
Yeah.
To be fair, if I go back down to Premier level now, I feel like I've found my niche market where I feel pretty good. Second 11, really difficult. State, not too bad. Australia, really enjoy that. That's where I want to be. But it's like Australia or Premier cricket. Everything in between is really difficult.
Can we like you would have? I know you're a cricket nuffy. You would have taken in the test loss, and now we're going to have 10 days of recriminations that are going to vary from like, okay, a couple of guys need to find some form, at one end, through to like throw the entire team in the bin. Let's focus on white ball cricket. The pyramid's dead. Where do you sit
There's
on
a Champions Trophy just around the corner? Let's put our focus into
CT?
that.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
What did you make of the loss? And what do you think needs to happen? I know you're going to be very careful with your answer, but, give it to us.
My first thought was, how hard is it being a curator when after day one we were like, this wicket's doing too much, it's awful, it's unplayable, it's unsafe. And then late on day 2, it's like, geez, this wicket's flat.
Too flat.
It's too flat. It's not very quick. It's a bit slow. And
just sort of started to do a little bit into the third day, fourth day as well.
Yeah. And then the cracks appear and everything starts going underground. It's impossible. Bumrah's bowling balls to seaming 1.5 feet and hitting blokes on the shin, and it's not fun. It's just not fun. They've got 2 genuine generational talents at the peak of their powers at the moment, which is Jaiswal and Bumrah. I've said this before, Bumrah is going to go down as potentially the best fast bowler of all time. Maybe not with the amount of wickets he takes in every format, but for the guys that have played against him, it is just so difficult. So difficult. He's just got such unique action, unique ability with the ball to get it to move and rush you. He can beat you on the outside edge, inside edge, and he's got a quick sniff, good slower ball. He seems like a complete package. And Jaiswal, having played against him for the last few years when he, I think, came to the IPL as a teenager and started smacking him around, his last couple of years, I think it was a test series against England where he just pumped it everywhere. And I remember watching him back going, he's got an answer for everything. He's got different gears. He's got a great ability to sort of go through the tempos of the game. Like, he played a lot of shots that will be on highlights packages, but the stuff he did in between, the balls he left, the balls he got behind, his footwork's pretty crisp. He doesn't seem to have many weaknesses. Plays a short ball well, drives well, plays spin unbelievably well, and can absorb pressure for periods of time. He's a guy that's probably going to get more than 40 Test hundreds, and and rewrite some different records as well. He's just got a great ability to adapt to different conditions, and it's going to be scary if Australia can't find a way to stop him over the next few games. But I don't think it's complete toys out the cot for Australia or the public after the first game. But we got a good look of the power of India and what they can do. And hopefully we can come up with some plans to stop it.
With Bumrah, because he's probably a better T20 bowler than he is Test bowler, which is saying something. So and there's been a lot of talk about his release point, right? Like what is it like? And it's closer to the batter than most guys, right?
Yeah,
is
he releases it from 3/4 pitch. It's like he's so far out in front.
But it's also the angle, right? Like it's also the angle from where it comes in, and he manages to straighten it as well. But like when you're facing him, what are you looking at? Are you looking at the ball, or are you looking at his ass?
Oh God, I didn't see the tweet.
Great bowler, even greater booty.
I did hear about that.
Yeah. But like, so what are you looking at when he's bowling?
Well, you sort of try not to get lost in the rhythm of the stutter, and you're sort of trying to time your pre-movements and your I suppose with his load up and the timing of that, and it's all just a little bit off.
Right.
Like your rhythm is sort of a little bit out of whack with him because it just doesn't come down at the right time. Even when he loads up, lets the ball go, it isn't from right above his head. It's just a little bit more in front, and it almost feels like his bouncer and his length ball are very similar where his release point is, and it's really hard to, I suppose, pick up the difference between those, and doesn't really use the full extent of his height as well. So it's like ball always feels like it's coming back into you, and he's got the ability to take the ball away, which is just makes it extremely difficult. And in T20 cricket, at least the ball doesn't swing as much, but he's still got the ability to bowl from wide of the crease, tail in a Yorker and break your foot. So he just has all bases covered.
Should we be more concerned that you seem to be describing like at least two players in the Indian side, one of which you said is going to possibly be the greatest fast bowler of all time? I don't think that's an unreasonable comment. The other one, you've nailed him on for 40 test tons minimum. Like, is that more like? Is that basically why Australia lost, do you think? Like, do you see improvement in the Australian side? Because watching that spell from Bumrah, like, it's really hard to see how that can be dealt with. Or do you just think it was a perfect storm of good conditions for him, fading light, quick deck, maybe they can come back into it?
Well, I think obviously the timing of both his opening spells certainly had a bit to do with that. I think, was it day one, the wicket still had plenty in it, because India obviously didn't bat long that first innings. There was still plenty in the deck day one. There's still enough nibble. Australia obviously have a debutant who hasn't faced him before. That's always going to be difficult. You have a couple of guys who have been so desperate for runs and hungry, and you throw in that little bit of a tentative mindset against a guy who's on top of his game with a wicket that's got plenty in it. And I don't think Smudge could have done anything about that. He has been batting so well the last couple of weeks. For him to get out like that, he missed it by quite a margin. There's nothing you can do when a ball seems that fast, that much, and is in line. There's actually nothing you can do. It's going to get everyone out in the team, and it was just a perfect storm of a guy on top of his game. Conditions really suited him. And by that stage, it was like it sort of ripped the heart out of the Australian lineup. What were we, 7 for 67, I think, on day one?
That's right.
Where if you get through even 2 or 3 down at the end of play, and you've got 1 or 2 experienced guys at the crease to, I suppose, get yourself into day 2 when it did slow down, bat a little bit deeper, the game looks completely different. But that spell, I think he bowled nine overs in that evening session, which he just kept going, and he doesn't really exert a lot of energy in his run-up. He can probably bowl a little bit longer spells, and that's the other beauty to him as well. He doesn't. It's not like he pushes off the sight screen and charges in 100 Ks every ball. It's just gathers himself at the run-up, builds up, loads up, bang, and delivers the gold. And hopefully we get a wicket at Adelaide, which is, I suppose, a bit more consistent over the first 3 days, so we can get obviously a read of how our guys are going. But they'll be desperate to get runs. And I'd be very surprised not to see that top 4 contribute quite a substantial amount in these next couple of games.
In terms of preparation heading into the test match, what do you think Pat Cummins' favourite Coldplay song is? And what was your favourite song that night at 6 down in Adelaide?
There's
so many hits.
So many
Yes,
hits.
I'm just taking time to think about it.
So many hits.
Yeah. Cyclone Sally. That's an original.
To
about a
go
woman.
to the Coldplay question, not sure what Pat's. Maybe Yellow.
Yellow, yeah. It's a good song.
Great song.
Yeah.
Colour of the Guernsey.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we'll come back to the Adelaide question, I guess.
We'll come back to that.
Yeah. Can't bowl, can't throw.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a nice song, bullying a guy out of. Anyway, but that's the kind of attitude the Australian team needs. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to bring a little bit about that back. Maxie, you do have a book, The Showman. I want to ask from the very top with the front page. My understanding is you don't like being called the Big Show, but it's called The Showman. Is it a negotiation that went on there? Is it a reference to it? How'd you land on the title? And then we're going to go page by page.
I found out that's what the book was being called at a stage when it was too late to change. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And they went, no, that's what it's called. And I was like, sorry, what? I was like, sure? And they're like, yeah, no, this is what it was. I was like, not sure about that. But it's grown on me. And I think the way the sort of story's been told, the way that my story's been, I suppose, portrayed in the book is sort of, I suppose, the growth from early days being pigeonholed with that nickname and had to, I suppose, sort of overcome a lot of media interest around that and I suppose the good and bad that sort of comes with it, and just sort of come out the other side when I came back to Australia post the World Cup and how that had sort of disappeared. It sort of became there's Maxie going to get a coffee, his local cafe, go and say hello instead of someone yelling out, "Oi, Big Show, you're shit," basically from their car, their ute that they drive past. So there was a nice little, I suppose, transition in the book where it sort of feels like I've grown out of it a little bit.
Well, that is the beautiful part of this book. It unlike other autobiographies, and I know you've worked with Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon on it, especially Colo, but there's a lot of echoes of the I guess the mental impacts of playing in the Australian cricket team, particularly in relation to broader attitudes that exist in Australian cricket. I mean, you are and you have been, particularly at the start of your career, a maligned and misunderstood player with the way that you played. And there's a line in the book that really stuck out to me. It's in the context of Michael Lloyd, the psychologist, talking about some series against Sri Lanka. Sorry to bring it down, but it says you need 100% commitment, 100% focus, 100% energy. You said there's nothing wrong with that sentiment, but you were hearing it and thinking, bloody hell, I might have 60% tops. And the line that stuck out to me was you saying, when I was making runs, I was a good boy. Low scores meant the opposite. And we talk so much on the show about that, about the people getting their self-esteem through performances in cricket, which is just, it's got to be so detrimental to the human experience. And it seems like that was yours.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the time that I was in the Australian team, through the first 5 or 6 years, I'd judge how I was going with the success on the team. It wasn't so much personal results. I wasn't too phased with that because I knew I had, I suppose, a role to play. It was a bits and pieces, bowl a few overs, do everything you possibly can in the field, and try and hit a couple at the back end of the innings. I knew that I wasn't going to be the guy that averaged 50 and struck at 80. I was going to be the guy that maybe averaged mid-20s and struck high and had an impact on the game and maybe got a wicket here and there, and would do the majority of the heavy lifting in the field. And I was so happy with that role. And I judge my how I was going. If the team was having success, I was doing my job, and that was all I was judging for. But even when we were winning, and if my scores didn't quite marry up, all of a sudden I was getting put under scrutiny. Like, hold on a second, I feel like I'm doing enough, like, to make sure this team's winning. Our job is to keep this team winning. And as soon as we lost, that's when I started to get sort of flat, and I was like, oh, maybe I didn't do enough. And so look back, even when I top scored and we lost, I'd be like, oh, I've let us down there. Like, I'd be flat for numerous different reasons. And so sometimes my emotions didn't quite marry up with what was going on out in the ground. And there'd be stages where I scored consistent runs, but my emotions still didn't really marry up with what was going on. And like, you'd play a full tournament, play quite well, not win the tournament, and then have to, I suppose, move on to the next thing. And there was no real time to either debrief or declutter your mind after what had just happened. So you just basically carry around baggage from series to series to series. And it just got to that point in 2019 where I just probably carried around enough, and it just collapsed on me. And I was so lucky I had Vinny there with me, and sort of broke down at that time. And
your wife, right?
Yeah, my wife Vinny, and just sort of broke down at the time. And when I suppose the option came to sort of escape that series and have a break, it just sort of felt like all the baggage disappeared, and I was able just to go, you know what, I can get through 2 games of cricket. Like, I can get through 2, and then I'll just sort of sail off into the background. And that was one of the chapters was probably the hardest to write. Like, talking, like, sort of bringing all that sort of stuff up again, all the anxiety around, like, letting a lot of people down, like not living up to expectations, sort of feeling like I was throwing away a chance to play for my country, and almost not doing what everyone else you'd feel should be doing at that stage. Like, being at the peak of my career, I think it was, what would have been 30, 31, and like I was going well. Like, I was batting really well at that time. Should have been the prime of my career, and my emotions and mental state just wasn't marrying up to what was what I felt was expected. And it all sort of just came crashing down.
It was a sorry, you guys. It was a, like, you know, without, like, the book goes into this detail in such an illuminating, like, extraordinary way, which is what, like, separates it as a normal autobiography from others. But, like, if I could prod you on that a little bit, and on that idea of, like, there not being particularly a relationship between your performances and how you were feeling. Like, you talked about playing club cricket near Norwich, and some of that, the mental health issues reared itself after you made 100, right? And that is starting to demonstrate that, like, there's no relationship between, like, runs and how you feel. And I think that's a really important thing in the conversation around mental health in cricket, that, like, it's not married to performance all the time. And you've learnt from that, right? You've got a lot more of a handle on who you are through those episodes, haven't you?
Yeah. Certainly have. And sort of tried to use it as a guide, I think, in the later half of my career, to understand moments when sometimes my emotions don't match up to how I'm feeling, or sometimes what I put out there doesn't sort of match up to what I'm feeling, and almost being able to check myself and go, no, that's a little alarm bell there where I need to sort of either talk to someone openly about whatever I'm feeling and sort of get it all out there and get a different perspective, and sort of almost catch yourself and realise that if you're going to continue to play this game, there's going to be so many ups and downs. There's going to be so many times where things don't go the way that you plan at the start of the game, and that's okay to not be able to control that, and sort of be able to move on and decompress and sort of be able to move forward and find a way to get yourself up for the next game. And there's been times more recently, I think, as well, where I've sort of had to catch myself in times where I've either been overly angry at things that didn't really matter, or haven't shown emotion to things that should matter. And it's sort of just trying to find that guy, is like just reminding myself to all right, just bring it back to level, making sure that we're sort of bringing those things back to what I suppose learned through those earlier days.
So like, how important then is you're talking about your individual experience and coming to understand who you are and how you operate. And I think a lot of people listening to this show, cricketers or not, have that experience as they age. But like, how important is external environment, or the team environment? Let's say the Australian cricket team or other teams you've been in permitting the space and respecting that journey? Because I'd imagine there would have been less room for that in some old school Australian cricketing environments, whereas the current one seems to be very cognizant, almost built around giving people the freedom to be themselves and to express who they are, and that it's okay to be up and down.
Yeah, I think there's a lot more understanding and genuine care these days compared to potentially when I first started. It felt like there was a cardboard cutout at the front door when you walk in, and everyone needed to fit through that. So you sort of like clip off sides of your personality. Everyone gets the same haircut, whatever it might be. But that's sort of what was expected. The Australian cricketer, this is the list of things you need to be. And then you go through the door and you try and uphold that as long as you can. And if you don't, you'll be out the door, or fine, you do whatever. And yeah, I think as obviously things evolve, mental health became a bit more at the forefront of people's minds over I want to say probably the last 7 years, I reckon, around that time, when people started to really understand the effects of what was going on in people's lives. And you live that cardboard cutout life for so long that you almost forget what your personality is. You almost forget that those personality traits that make you. And
it's like a Stepford cricketer.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And I sort of detail that a fair bit. That I couldn't work out who I was off the field, and I'd just been putting on this mask every day until I literally just felt drained. I had nothing left, and to be in I suppose in a change room that's so understanding, so caring. They ask questions, they check in how you're going, and it's genuine. It's not just passing comment. They generally care and they generally want to know, and everyone looks out for each other a little bit more, and it makes dealing with success, failure, and everything in between a lot easier to either overcome or keep there, and makes open conversation a lot easier to, I suppose, express anything negative you might be feeling in your body, anything negative that you used to have, bury it down, think positive, think that you're the best. We're Australia, we're the world beaters, go out there, we win. Be hard-nosed and all that sort of stuff. And it was...
Work hard as well.
Yeah. Run faster, we'll win. Like, that's be stronger, we'll win. Like, all that sort of stuff where it's... Yeah, there's a bit more genuine connection. And that's not to say that we still all train hard, we still all try and do all the right things, but there's a lot more, I suppose, genuine stuff happening off the field, which helps guys keep their personality, keep a good sense of inner self, which is so much more healthy and hopefully lengthens a lot of guys' careers. And I think it's been pretty public. A lot of the guys in our setup sort of talking about how much they love the change room. And I think it's that genuine care and love for each other that makes it such an enjoyable place to be. And when you're desperate to sort of perform for your teammates because of the love and care, it only brings about good performance, and hopefully that continues for a few more years.
I know Finchy said this in the past, where he felt like no one cared about you until you started playing for Australia. And then once you start playing for Australia, everyone's got an opinion on you. So like McSweeney must be going through the same thing, right? Where he's been the best player in his team for ages, and then he scored the runs and he gets his chance. Now everyone's like, he's shit, and like, I wonder what does it do to you? What did it do to you when like you got your chance to bat number 3 for Australia and India, and you get out reverse sweeping, and it wasn't just like the commentary from legends wasn't just like, oh, he's not good enough. It was like you were disrespecting the baggy green because like the way he got out, and which is obviously like absurd. But like, what did that do to you?
So that was one of the things I addressed in the book. So it was 2014, and I'd been brought back into the test side against Pakistan in Abu Dhabi, and they played the first game at Dubai International. And Alex Doolan had just made 100 in the tour game there, played the first test. They dropped him for the second test and brought me in. And I got told it was the reason, well, we're 1-0 down. We just need to be aggressive. We need to take the game on. We need to try and win this test. There's no point us drawing this test, going home 1-0. So whatever happens, I want you to go out there and try and win it for us. And I was like, rightio, no worries. And I went out there, played my shots, like tried to do it in my way. And I think I got like 37 off 24 or 5 in the first innings, and then got out to their left arm spinner, which decent ball, but I felt like that was like almost triple my highest test score at that stage. I was like, I am flying.
You're in paper in club cricket.
It's only up from here. And then obviously the next innings, Misbah goes on and gets 100 off 50 balls, and
Right.
I'm sure Yunus Khan probably got 100 as well. He got 100 basically every innings over there, and in the last innings, I actually batted at 3, and I think we needed like 500 or 600 or something like that. And I was like, well, this is about the role I've been given.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go out and play my shots. And I missed a reverse sweep off Hafiz that missed leg stump just. And then I got out defending.
Right.
Like I think it was an over or two later. And all the press back home was about me playing a reverse sweep and missing it. I was like, hold on a second. I didn't even get out to it. Like,
Right.
I'm going to get out in some way. Obviously, there was a ball with my name on it at some stage. Like, would you rather me like get out blocking for a duck off 50, or at least trying to score and at least trying to put us in a better position? So I struggled with that, like not being able to almost like tell them, no, this is what I got told in the change room. But it was just sort of like, no, just business as usual. Like, forget it, move on. We had a one-day and T20 series straight after that, so it was like, all right, get into that and move on. But I struggle with that because I got nailed by the press for coming in for one game, getting told to do one thing, and then expecting me to be the next Ricky Ponting at number 3 and play classical shots the whole way through. It's like, well, it's not why I'm there. It's not the role that I've been given in this game. And that's something that comes with, I suppose, the territory of being an Australian player. It's pretty typical in Australia that as soon as you get to the top level, everyone tries to sort of bring you back down a few pegs, and it's a hard place to be if you're not quite sure of how you're going to go about it. And I got rushed into the Australian team when I was young. Like it was, might have been a half a dozen to a dozen Victorian games, playing a bit of pub cricket in England, get a call that you're in the next series for Australia. And I'm so glad that first series was away from home and at a time where most people were asleep. So I was able to almost get my Australian career underway without that scrutiny, and then coming home for the summer to then play in front of home crowds and then sort of see all the media around whatever dismissal you had or whatever way that you went about your cricket, like was just scrutinised to the nth degree. It was just like, something I wasn't used to, and it was probably a bit of a rude shock early days.
Yeah.
Do you what do you say to those, which would include me, who think that there's a parallel world where you have played 100 tests, were it not for mismanagement, poor vision and mishandling in a overly rigid cardboard cutout, cookie cutter environment of Australian cricket? How do you feel about that sentiment that a lot of people would have?
To be honest, it's all about timing. Like it's just genuine timing. I was maybe part of Shane Watson's calf string away from making my debut in the Boxing Day test in 2012.
Right.
And he got through that fitness test and got injured in the first session. And then I got brought into the squad in Sydney, flew all my friends and family up there, all the media and all the expectations around me playing. And then Australia selects 5 bowlers for the first time since like 1964 or something like that. And that was all really hard to take. But also, I hadn't really played a lot of first-class cricket before that, and I certainly wasn't ready to play Test cricket at that stage. I mean, when I got my opportunity, I still wasn't ready. And it was only when I came back in 2017, I had a real true grasp on how it was, which was why I was so disappointed that it sort of all played out the way it did. I think we played in Bangladesh on some of the worst wickets known to man. We drew that series 1-1 and then came back to Australia, and that was when they did the clean slate. Like, it's back to Shield cricket, and like we'll see how everyone goes.
Second grade, twos and
Twos
threes.
and threes.
Mate,
Well, the Shield guys went back to twos, threes.
and that was like, I've done all this hard work over the last few years to get myself back into the Test squad, got myself 100, like being a part of a Test win, felt the highs and lows in the last couple of months, but feel like I'm well and truly on top of my game. And then to have that just sort of wiped away, that was so hard to take. And then same thing, selection doesn't go your way, make a bunch of runs at the start of the summer, still doesn't go your way. And then, then I suppose the change in direction the following year.
You've obviously got a string at the moment, but would you have played the PM's 11 game coming up this week?
Well, that was what we had planned. It was probably PM's game and then the Shield game following it at the MCG against Queensland. And those were two things I'd sort of pencil into the calendar. I was really looking forward to. It was like two really good opportunities to, I suppose, just get out there and play. Like just not be under any run rate pressure, just be able to bat and enjoy yourself. And that was part of the, I suppose, the enjoyment I had during the second 11 game. I was able just to go out there and I suppose work out what my longer form technique used to be. I watched a lot of vision even leading into that game just to sort of, I suppose, remember different cues and things I used to do, movements, and try and put that into practice. And I was really looking forward to two of those games. And it's a shame that this has happened, but also at the same time, it's probably a good time to, over the last probably couple of years, I've been putting in 4 to 6 week blocks of heavy lifting, running, and all that sort of stuff to make sure my body can withstand the rigors of whatever major things coming up. And this is obviously a time where I'm able to do that leading to the Big Bash and hopefully for the couple of series afterwards.
So if you're going to play the PM's game, we're looking at Sri Lanka for G Maxwell, the Sri Lanka series, the Test series. That's got to be on the horizon.
Yeah, I think.
And is it still?
I think it's still on the horizon. I think I wouldn't put my name out of it just yet. I don't think that was needed to, I suppose, put my name in up for selection, but it would have probably been nice for myself to be a part of that, and nice for the selectors to, I suppose, see me almost just spend a couple of days out in the field and making sure my body's sort of staying up to the rigours of longer form cricket. But the fact that I've got probably this time to put myself through my paces a little bit, hopefully just puts me in a good stead for fitness wise at the back end.
Yeah. So what about last year? Last year, would you have played the India series in India had you not broken your leg?
I think I would have been close to the squad. I think that was, out of everything that sort of came out of the book, that was probably the hardest thing to sort of look back on and sort of go, oh, that's right. I'd almost sort of forgotten about that, because when I was told how long the rehab was going to be, I was like, oh, I'll shave 2 weeks off that. I'll get back early, show I'm ready to play Test cricket. Like, I was doing everything I could to put stuff out. Like, I was batting after, I think, 3 and a bit weeks post-surgery, and I was like, see, I'm ready to go. Like, get me to indoor right now. I'll find a way to score on those shit tips. And get me out there. I want the ball spinning past me as it roll on the ground. I want to be out there. But yeah, I just didn't probably quite understand how much work there was to recover the damage I'd done to my foot, and just incredibly naive to think that I could speed up the process of the healing and get myself ready for the rigours of international cricket.
Well, there'd be a lot of people out there who would, particularly now with the trend with the Australian team, who would be concerned that the traditional pathways into the test side, which is runs in 4th grade into 3rd grade, from Shield into the test team, doesn't seem to be as rigid and prominent as it used to be. You I guess would argue that like being an international cricketer is a through the white ball setup is a valid pathway into red ball cricket and into the test side. I mean, Zorba's he's taken 3 for as we go to wear for New South Wales, but of the same ilk, I suppose. Like, what is that argument? Is would you say that like spending enough time around international cricket qualifies you to be able to be dropped into a test series?
I think it's probably harder for places like England, Australia, South Africa, New Zealand, where your technique gets obviously put under pressure for a long period of time. You've got to be probably more comfortable with your game around red ball cricket and trying to find a way. Sri Lanka is such a niche set of conditions where you have to be so adaptable at facing spin and coming up with plans on the go, ways to put them off their length, ways to put them under pressure. The fields that you're going to face, you don't really sort of face those anywhere else in the world. So it's like it's hard to sort of almost take a lot of Shield runs into consideration when you go over there, because first ball you go out there, it's a part-time off-spinner opening the bowling, and you're like, what is going on here? I've literally been facing Nessa and Bartlett and Steckity whizzing past my ears, and now I've got Dan and Jaya De Silva like just bowling square spinners that are spinning either a metre or a roll on the ground.
But how many runs did you score at Karen Rolton?
Rooster, 100 off 30.
Get him in.
So yeah, I think that's the other thing is to. That was one of the probably the more fun parts to write about was 2022 being back amongst the test squad in Sri Lanka, and the week leading up, the practice and the training sessions leading into that first test was the most fun I've had training ever. It was, the wickets were putrid. There was 50 spinners lining up to bowl to us. Like, everyone's getting knocked over every second ball. Like, the ball's like rolling on the ground, spinning at your head. It was great fun. But like trying to come up with different techniques to survive, score, all that was just so much fun. And I felt like it was almost my time. And then then obviously the pitch that they prepared for the second test was completely different from the first, and I sort of knew that they were going to go with an extra quick, just because the conditions are obviously a lot flatter. They're going to need a bit of extra pace, and it was pretty heartbreaking sort of getting the tap on the shoulder as you're walking in the door on day one of the second test, and just feeling like you were so close to getting back there after 5 years, not tasting that feeling. But who knows? I don't think the door's quite closed yet.
There'll be lots of people remembering Hughesy this week. It'll be 10 years tomorrow since he passed. I suppose in lots of ways he was unorthodox like you, not necessarily in style, but he was scoring in unusual areas from balls that had no right to end up where he was putting them, right? Do you remember the first time you saw him play?
Yeah, I do. We played state under-15s against each other.
Oh, okay.
I think he started off the tournament duck 180. And I think we got him in the fourth game. And we'd all heard about him. We all knew about him. And I think the two ducks might have been laced cut shots straight to point or something like that. But the 180, that sort of sent shivers around pretty much everyone. I remember he was batting. He was on about 30. I was at cover. Michael Hill was bowling. And he hit this cover drive, and I barely had time to move as it went past me. And I thought I was a pretty good fielder at that stage. And when he hit that, I was like, I'm not up to it. Like that's the level, and I'm not up to it. And he made me doubt myself, even just in the field. Like it was incredible. He had amazing skill, and I think we we got him out from a filthy wide chop on. It's amazing I still remember that. That's 22 years ago.
Well, yeah.
But that 6 and Out song. God, sorry.
Adelaide Oval number 2. Small little ground, chopped on wide, cover drive. Yeah, but I think that was the other thing with Hughesy. Hughesy was our generational talent. He was our guy in our era that everyone knew was making the step quickly up to the next level and was going to take it on, do well. He was would have been 21. I think I was just rookie contracted. And Hughesy by that stage had played three years full of Sheffield Shield cricket and probably already had 10 first-class hundreds. And I was like, I am so far behind a guy that was in my same age group, came through all the levels together, and he is almost like basically playing for Australia. I think he was like almost on the edge of playing for Australia at that time. It's like, there's no way I'm getting to that stage. And he was our guy. To play in his ODI debut at the MCG together, that was awesome. Gets 100 against Sri Lanka. It was just so special. Like just sort of watching him go about his business, and he was the guy that was going to just be there for Australia for the next. Well, it would have been
He'd still be playing
18
probably.
years. He'd still be playing. He'd be smacking him. He'd be cheeky still in the change room. Even at 36, he'd be cheeky.
Yeah.
He was never going to change, and he was the guy that was probably going to change Australian cricket.
Yeah, I remember we were just talking about it before. You know, like just the grief over Australian cricket as a whole. You know, like and I think you and Finchy living together at the time when it happens.
Yeah, so me and Finchy went up for the funeral, came back, and we both were grieving completely in different ways.
Right.
It was a really tough couple of weeks following that. Like we were both extremely emotional at different times. Some days we'd want to talk about it, some days we wouldn't. Neither of us wanted to play cricket at that time. We didn't really know what we wanted to do to either remember him or move on or try and think about something else. It just like literally drove our thoughts and our brains like to mush, and it affected pretty much cricketers across the world for a good period of time after that. And to think that the sport that we were playing was no longer safe, it probably never really entered our minds that it could hurt us. Like we knew it could. You get hit sometimes and you move on, but we didn't think it could like end. And that shock probably was felt throughout the world, and I know it affected a lot of us who had played with him, and certainly made it hard to go back out in the field.
Yeah.
Maxi, in the last couple of days, we've had the IPL auction in Jeddah, probably something that 10 years ago no one really was talking about, but there you have it. Punter in the sleeveless Nehru jacket as well, and good. he's your coach. You're reunited with Punter from the Washington Freedom at the Punjab Kings. So there will be some Punjab fans watching this diligently. They'll probably skip to the chapter.
We got him back.
Yeah,
we got him back. Yeah.
But you've been there before. You're back there now. Big contingent of Aussies. There's a core of Indian players there as well who've been purchased. Thoughts, reactions?
Yeah, really excited. I think the crew that we've assembled is very punter. It's very punter. Like, obviously, having been a part of a few of the teams that he's coached or been a part of, Mumbai 2013, Surrey 2013, Delhi 2018, Freedom, and now here. It's nice to, I suppose, be a part of that planning and process, and to start with, obviously, Shreyas. A lot of money gone for him, and you can understand why. The last time I played with him was 2018 with punter, and Ponting made him captain, I think, halfway through the tournament. He was one of the leading run scorers. He absolutely dominated. I think he just won it last year with KKR. Was he? I'm pretty sure he was captain there as well.
Well, Ponting suggested he would be captain, but he did cut off his comments, I think, in deference to the fact that the owner will be deciding that. So I've never heard Punter. I've never heard Punter like speak anything other than unequivocally. But on this occasion, in the Nehru jacket, he's like, "Oh, look, I think he will be, but I better check."
Who knows? Who knows? He captained the team to a title last year, but it's probably smart to give it this year. Let's see if he can go 2 from 2.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Is he good enough to do it twice? Good players go twice, don't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's nice to have that experience and that that sort of quality in our lineup, and these teams are built around a solid group of quality Indian players, and we certainly have a good solid Indian core and a good bunch of golf partners as well. So
that's the main thing.
That's the main thing.
And Punter's like literally just picked his golf group. Which is quite nice. He's got a big puppy. He wants to see some big balls from Victoria. So Marco Jansen, good golfer. Nice. Yeah. Lockie Ferguson, good golfer.
Yeah,
I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
A lot of Punjab Kings fans out there just going like, "Hey, this is a really nice core," and Crick Info will be dissecting it, and Crick Bars on why those roles fit, and what they're missing is that these guys play golf.
No, you should see Marco
Jansen out at the sand.
Marco Jansen, great stinger. Who cares about his left arm from 8'9", stinger off the tee?
Big boy, 4 years at RCB, Maxi. Like incredible franchise. Like the players, like AB. Virat, obviously, like you must have had some good times at RCB.
I had a great time there.
Yeah.
I absolutely.
We have the biggest soft spot for RCB.
Yeah.
I like it's just so fun and emotional.
It's fun.
Well, I think obviously while I was at RCB, I had the biggest soft spot for Punjab. Obviously, having spent so much time there, and now I sort of suppose it goes back the other way. Now I'm there, I've still got a soft spot for RCB, and they were incredible to me, and probably gave me a lifeline to, I suppose, reinvigorate my IPL career. Hadn't had a lot of success, I think, in those couple of years leading up, and had 3 really good years with them in a row, and just felt like everything was sort of trending in the right direction, and all sort of didn't really work out last year, but I'll always remember the time I spent with them just being so extremely positive. The fact I was sort of able to, I suppose, right at the peak of my career, really, like your early 30s, you understand your game really well. You're at that stage of your life, married, had a kid, and like to sort of have them a part of that journey, them sort of supporting every sort of step of the way, on and off the field, they've been outstanding. And I suppose I talked a little bit about the other day. The exit meeting I had with them was probably. It was unexpected, I think, because you have, you feel like you have relationships with franchises until like they cut you, you don't hear from them, and you just end up in the auction, and you're like, I don't even know what happened there. Like, I thought we had a good year. I thought we were friends, but like they were so professional in the whole way they went about everything, and I can't thank them enough for, I suppose, the time that they invested in me and giving me that opportunity. What
was it like playing under Faf when Virat was there? Faf seems like a great guy. Is he a good guy?
He was awesome.
Yeah. Like, but he took over the captaincy from Virat when he stepped down at RCB. So that's a crazy couple of alphas going head to head there.
Well, that's
Cox of the walk.
It's a big job.
I bet.
And because Faf's like a big, strong, ripped guy, good looking fella, like it's 2 kings of their jungle. Watching them in the gym is bloody hilarious. Like, it's just funny. So yeah, I think that was probably one of his main things when he arrived. He's like, okay, Virat, I understand you're number one. Like everyone, that's going to be it. My job is to make sure this team is successful and wins and follows whatever plans we're trying to follow. I need you to just be on board. I need you to be supporting. He goes, yep, you let me know what you need. And Virat was on board straight away. Like they worked so well together throughout my time there with those two, and he was just the perfect guy for that change room. He's so calm, so well spoken, so well respected, and he performed unbelievably well. and he's got a good rig. So
Yeah,
it's
he's got it all.
He's got it all.
Yeah, trains hard. It felt like he did everything right, and the guys absolutely loved him.
Now, this 13-year-old Suryavanshi, he's been picked up by Rajasthan. You probably would have seen. How many games will he play if the game finishes past his bedtime?
Yeah, I think you only get 2 day games, so
13 in the
's
IBL.
ridiculous,
Come on.
mate.
Yeah, you thought
13.
Hughesy came on quickly.
This guy's gone for 300 grand at Rajasthan.
Surely that goes to his parents, and they're like, "We're just going to filter that into your pocket money." Like,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
That's right.
doesn't even have a bank account yet. 13.
Have you seen him before? Have you heard about him? Like, no.
When I saw it, I was like, he's not 13. That's a typo.
Yeah.
That's a typo.
Yeah.
They missed half the 8. 13.
I mean, how afraid are we of India? I mean,
that's-
really, like
come
he's made 100 off 50 rocks against the 19s as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we put Marley Beardman on a plane. You know,
If he comes out to the 4th test, I'm scared. There's all the questions of what were you doing when you were 13?
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
I was like, I was shaving my beard when I was 13.
Waxing the forearms.
Felt uncomfortable about it. Yeah, that's 13. That's so young.
When you see names like Dave Warner didn't get picked up, Bairstow, Daryl Mitchell, Prithvi Shaw also missed out. Like, just goes to show, like, the IPL is so ruthless, isn't it? Like, there's some good players that don't play in it.
It was pretty cutthroat,
Yeah.
to be honest. I think also from the start when I played, there was no real restriction on how many overseas players you could have.
Okay.
So my first year at Delhi, I got brought in as a replacement player, and a lot of the big internationals hadn't arrived. So I was like, how good's this? I'm straight in, I'm playing. And within a week and a half, I wasn't even travelling with the group to away games because I was like the 11th or 12th overseas on our list.
Right.
It was like KP, Mahela, Mornay Morkel, Davey, Finch.
Yep.
Like we had so many overseas. Ross Taylor. Like it just kept
Good
going.
names, yeah.
So all these guys, and I think Finchy was like the travelling reserve,
Right.
like batter, just in case 3 of them got injured before the toss. And I was just like left at the hotel. I thought they'd just forgotten about me for a week or 2. So yeah, that's obviously changed a fair bit. It was the same at Mumbai. So that was where I first saw Bumrah.
You had Sachin and Ricky Ponting.
So I was there when Sachin had his 40th birthday. And it was awesome. Like he was great. He was so welcoming and such a just a friendly guy to
He
be
seems
around.
a very gentle man.
He's just a beautiful human. And that year we had obviously so many overseas players, and for a while we had like the running joke that when we went to training, it's like, it's the third 11's time to have the nets. And in that third 11 was Bumrah, Sky, Yuzi Chahal. I think Aiden Blizzard was there, and Hughesy was there as well.
Oh, wow.
And Nathan Coulton-Nile. So there was all of us on the bench, like training in the third 11 slot together. And like Bumrah has only had a couple of training sessions. Like they literally just found him on one of these cricket camps, and in the nets I faced him all the time, and it was filthy. Like this, like rake thin bloke running up and had 2 slower balls that both looked identical, but both spun completely different ways, and a good sniff. And like it wasn't as fast as he was today.
That's
but,
a bouncer for people listening.
yeah, sorry.
India as well.
And how old would he have been?
he would have been 19 or 20, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
right.
But yeah, he was just so raw, so talented, and they ended up like almost fast tracking him, getting him. They played him against RCB, and I think he got the big 3 like Gale, Virat, and AB out in his first game.
Oh my god!
And it's just like all his dreams come true, and then literally from there played every game over the next.
This guy's going to be good.
11 years.
If it's possible.
He could be okay. Like we give him a bit of time to work it out, and he was a superstar. Well, he was an uncomfortable customer at the start, and you probably wouldn't have projected he'd get to where he was. And when he played for India, it was like, oh, that's awesome from him. Like great story that he's come from where he has to play for India, and then he just got better and better and better, and it was like, hold on. I thought they were just like flash in the pan deliveries he was bowling to me in the nets. He's literally bowling them consistently and like on command. And he just got better.
Yeah.
Is it possible that probably like given the prominence of say Virat and Rohit in the current like Indian consciousness that that Jasprit Bumrah still remains somewhat underrated for or it doesn't receive the proportion of attention that he should, because as you say he may well go down as the greatest ever, which we're only saying now because he's knocked us over. But
in one game.
Do you think it's possible?
Wait till he goes none for 100 and everyone tears him down.
Yeah, the last thing that happened is the only thing.
Yeah. I suppose obviously the attention that's around Virat, Rohit, and those guys probably detracts away from a few of the other players who are still superstars in their own right. And
which is why Bumrah should have declared on Virat in the 90s for me. That was he's missed his opportunity there.
Could you imagine? It's like Bumrah's like, I want 3 or 4 of me tonight. Like myself, I just need someone to race.
That's how he could have changed the game.
I'm going to give Washington Sunday a couple of overs just to race through so I can bowl more overs. That would have been gold.
Virat, in you come.
Sorry, Siraj, your overs are too slow. I'm going to go to the spinner at the other end.
Because what if Bumrah could have done one of those farm whistles as well? Because we know anyone who can do a farm whistle. You probably can as well.
Pup
used
to do it.
Yeah, the pup ones. That's
Pup,
when
you could hear it from a different suburb.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll tell you what, there's no worse feeling in the world when you're in the field and Pup was captain and you'd hear that and you're like, I'm not looking at him. This could be at me.
Yeah.
So just turn around. He's looking at you like waving like move.
Oh, yeah. Getting farmed by Pup.
Yeah. Horrible.
I presume Faf could do that. I mean, it's part of the toolkit of the most alpha captains available.
No, he used to do star jumps like Faf. Any excuse to work out.
Yeah.
He's like trying to get your attention. He'd sort of start like this and then just start doing star jumps. You certainly see it. What's that idiot doing over there?
And he's in a towel as well.
Yeah, that's right. Put your shirt on, Faf. A game of cricket here. Maxie, thanks so much. You've been so generous with your time. Just shouting out again, his book's called The Showman. It sets itself apart from other cricket autobiographies by being particularly honest about matters around mental health and, what it is like to be I think, largely and unfairly misunderstood, very gifted cricketer who still you've become a great in your own right anyway, mate. And it sounds like, fingers crossed, there are still a couple of more chapters to write.
Not bad.
3 World Cups.
Yeah.
Only 3.
And just to finish off, because
Good enough, is it?
it must be mentioned, we're so so glad for that performance against Afghanistan as well, because you did the thing that that people knew you could do. You've got the innings to hang your hat on that, we can tell our kids and grandkids that underpins how much of a freak you are. And I still remember that night for me. My dad was down from Sydney to Melbourne. We were watching the game, and we went through 4 bottles of wine, and they gradually became better and better bottles of wine as it became clear what you were doing. So we've all got those memories, and thanks for that. I'm sure you're sick of talking about it, so I'll just wrap it up into the into the close of the interview, mate. But yeah, thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for being so generous with your time, and all the best with the book and that.
No, I really appreciate it. Thanks, lads.
Thanks very much to Maxie for coming into the studio. And around the studio, you actually might see some cans for Better Beer. Day for it.
Yeah, absolute day for it.
Thanks very much for Better Beer for getting around TGC this Australian summer. Looking forward to moving forward. I think that was Julia Gillard's campaign.
Yes. Or it was just a little addendum on top of her moving forward slogan.
I like it.
Yeah. Australia's going to need a bit more beer.
Pezza, tomorrow will be 10 years since Phillip Hughes passed away. And I know Pete Lawler and Gideon Haigh have written excellent pieces. I read them both yesterday, actually, on Cricket et al. Pete was actually at the ground when Phil Hughes passed away. Gideon also wrote an excellent piece, referencing the umpires and the match officials that day.
We interviewed them.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody had either.
They are 2 incredible pieces of writing, and just reading them yesterday really moving because it sort of takes you back to what the mood was in the country at the time. And the fact that it's been 10 years is incredible. And Phillip would have been 36, I think, now. So, I guess he would still be playing, most likely. But, when I think about it from a personal perspective of 10 years ago, I remember what I was doing, but I just remember I was still playing cricket for Gordon back at the time. And the overall sense of complete grief that the Australian cricket public felt, not just grade cricketers, every single person that was still playing cricket or around cricket or just even watched the national team play, the grief that washed over the nation for months was so profound. And I highly recommend if people get the chance or want to sign up to Cricket Tower to read Pete and Gideon's pieces. They are remarkable pieces of writing. So I'd recommend it. But 10 years, Pez, it's incredible how quickly that goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get like tingles right now just thinking about it. I mean, the first comment has to go towards Phillip's family, and how they would be feeling on a day like this, or at a moment like this. There's been a lot of attention on the 10-year anniversary. I hope that they're doing well, and I hope that there's some solace in the volume of like positive, endearing stories about Phillip. Neither of us knew him, but a lot of people have sketched out just a really happy, fun, tough character, and it is. I mean, he's obviously a heart-wrenching loss to his family and his friends first, and then secondly to Australian cricket. And naturally you wonder what might have been. He looked to be a century maker and a prolific run scorer, and apparently on the doorstep of returning to the team. I can't commend Gideon and Pete's piece on Phillip Hughes, both their individual articles on Phillip Hughes more highly. They are two extraordinary pieces of journalism, and they're really quite harrowing, actually. A lot of people have given feedback to the effect that they are very much tear-inducing, and but a beautiful way to capture the sentiment at the time and to honour Phillip Hughes. I know Pete has had a lot to do with his family, having penned a book on him, so knows the situation intimately. And from a personal perspective, I remember I was as well. I was overseas, but I remember exactly where I was when I awoke to the news, and my wife told me, and buried my face in the pillow. And I still find it a difficult thing to think about and discuss. Everybody deals with these things in different ways. I wince a little bit at the sometimes when there is coverage that just veers into the maudlin and gratuitous and unnecessary. I just keep thinking about his family. I hope that coverage doesn't come across exploitative or overly I guess prodding of sadness and grief. I think media. It's important that media is appropriate and tasteful and respectful in this situation. But so to that end, there's nothing really else to say other than it just I hope that people can take the positives when they remember Phillip, and it's just an unspeakable tragedy, really.
Moving on to the Sheffield Shield, Western Australia and South Australia are playing in Adelaide right now, and Western Australia lead by 305 runs. Of course, these scores are live, so these things are going to change. Jaden Goodwin scored 139 for the Whackers.
Get him in.
He must play. He simply must play.
And Murray Goodwin was a good player.
That's a very good point.
That's pedigree.
Brendan Doggett took 5 for 97 for the Sackers. That's more wickets for him. And then Henry Hunt, playing for the Sackers, scored 106, opening the batting. Okay, well, he scored runs yesterday. He must play. He simply must play.
Joel Barris took 5 for. Jai Richardson took 3 for 47 and high-fived someone and popped his shoulder out. So I reckon he'll play 100 tests for Australia. His body's ready for it. God damn it, Jai. Wheels, though. Hey, good news, though. Third innings, Cameron Bancroft, 71 red.
Well,
yeah.
let's storm Jollymont.
Exactly. Tasmania and New South Wales. New South Wales trail by 116 runs on the first innings at the moment. Tasmania scored 364 thanks to Tim Ward's 92 from New South Wales. So get him in.
What did New South Wales there?
New South Wales are 5 for 248.
Okay.
Zampa took 3 wickets by the way yesterday.
Tom Decent. Oh, okay. Shout out Zorby. Tom Decent, cheekily, although has posited that perhaps there is a former Australian number 3 around in Shield ranks that is experienced, who has recently rediscovered his game with a series of 50s.
He scored 99 yesterday. Slug got him for 99.
Curtis Patterson.
KP.
And you know, bringing him back into the setup would also deeply satisfy autistic pedophile stats nonces.
Now we're talking.
Who are desperate for his test average of 140 to be brought back to something around the mean because it disturbs their needs.
Yeah. Sam Constance made 39. Bo Webster 3 for 56, by the way, and he also scored 61 in the first inning, so he'll captain for Australia. I just keep thinking about fucking Bukowski, man. Now, there's a player who could have played cricket for Australia. Fucking hell. God damn it. Victoria lead by 11 runs in the third innings. Victoria were all out for 186. And Sweppo took 4 for Queensland, 4 for 31. Queensland then made 297. Renshaw 14. See, no one's doing anything. No one's doing anything consistently. It's annoying me.
Not the way they used to anyway.
Nah, exactly. But Marcus Harris is on 50 in the third innings.
Oh, hey, Harry.
That game's at Brisbane as well. Okay, so it's away from the junction. Now we're talking. It's something.
A non-junction 50 from Harry.
Do you see what I mean, man? Like, we're looking at who scored runs yesterday.
Squinting. Mate, this reminds me of State of Origin when fucking Queensland had Thurston and Slater and Cronk and all those Coates, Inglis.
Yeah.
You'd start squinting going like, I actually think Gal can get them this time. You know what I mean? I actually think if you, you sort of put Luke Lewis into the centres and maybe,
That's right. The WBBL is heading towards its crescendo, Pezza. The final is actually on Sunday, and the Renegades have booked in their place in the final. They beat Sydney Thunder in the top of the table clash, meaning Melbourne Red will host the WBBL final on Sunday. Soph Molyneux took 4 for 23 in that game and also hit 42 of 29 in a player of the match performance.
Gades.
So that's Sunday afternoon, 1:20 p.m. local time. Before that, there was a bit of a race for the finals. Perth Scorchers edged into the finals after tying a super over against the Sydney Sixers. So Michaela Hinkley hit Ash Gardner for 4 off the final ball of the super over to once again tie the scores. So each team got 1 point, which took Perth into 4th place on the table. So then they were in. Then they played their last game was 4th v 5th against the Hurricanes, who the Hurricanes then beat them at Hobart. So then they'll play tomorrow. The Sydney Thunder are playing against the Hurricanes tomorrow. That's in Sydney. And then the challenger, so the winner of Thunder Hurricanes will play the Brisbane Heat in Brisbane. The winner of that game will play against the Melbourne Renegades, Melbourne Red. So that's where we're at with the WBBL, mate. Anything you want to add?
Oh, we had the chance to do some test commentary on the Gades Stars game. I know
I think we need to explain when we say test commentary, because I think people were expecting us to do the commentary in the test match. A lot of people were asking, why aren't you doing the...
Well, that's fair enough from them.
Fair enough.
You've used the word test.
Yeah.
Test more in a trial sense, like when you're testing whether a text message works or an email works that you send to yourself. Test.
It was a 2s vs 3s test.
Yeah, that's right. No, we did a trial commentary on the WBBL game between the Gades and the Stars. I noticed the Stars just let go of their coach. They announced that recently, but
they finished last, the Stars.
Yeah,
this year.
Yeah,
which is amazing given the quality of their squad.
Yes. Gades looked good though. They pulled themselves back into the game, and Nicole Fulton looked great.
Yeah,
Georgia Wolfie coming in there, and now they've brought and Soph Molyneux wasn't even playing that game.
That's right.
So
yeah. New Zealand and England. That Test series starts on Thursday. This will be Tim Southey's last as a New Zealand Test cricketer. Maybe we should get him on the show before he sacks it in. He has asked to come in.
He's come on before.
He has come on before,
Yeah,
but he wants to do
yeah.
it again.
Yeah, okay.
He feels he'd let himself down. His words. It's a 17-year career for the Black Caps in tests. He started against England as a teenager, actually, and will now finish against England, who was coached by one of his teammates from that first series.
Oh, wow.
There you go. Kane Williamson will return for the series. They'll need to shuffle the pack, though, to include Will Young, obviously, who had a stellar series in India, batting 3 there. So New Zealand's going to be out with Sears, Jamieson for the series, and Mitch Santner for the first test. He'll join the squad for the second and third test, though, Mitch Santner there. For England, Jordan Cox is going to miss the first game with a fractured thumb after being hit in the PM's 11 warm-up game. Should be a good series, though. But so England can't make the World Test Championship final. New Zealand can if they sweep England in a 3-test series here. So seems unlikely. But
England's about to pick Jacob Bethel to bat 3.
Wow.
Just 25 in first-class cricket. But,
Okay.
he's sort of like, he's a whispered prodigy. Gun
whispers.
Like Sobers, Lara,
Yep.
all having something to do with him,
Yep.
that kind of stuff. So anyway, I mean, Australia can't really judge the selection of a
They're
number
going to pick
3
him
right now.
Pick him, are they? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Good luck
Bit of carry on.
against the best team in the world. And Zimbabwe beat Pakistan in Bulawayo there.
Another, which is in one-day cricket.
That's an ODI, yeah.
That's an ODI.
So Zimbabwe made
So
205.
So Zimbabwe's beaten Pakistan in the format Pakistan beat Australia in.
That's
recently.
correct. That's
Cool.
correct.
Good. No,
That's correct.
Everything coming up Australia. Real quick.
And Zimbabwe made 205, and then there was rain affected, so it was only a 21 over innings. In the second innings, the target was 141, and Pakistan was 60 for 6. So
Sweet.
That definitely can happen. I hadn't planned this, but I wonder if we should talk at all about our experience doing ABC Grandstand. If we just say that for the pay pigs on Patreon and Apple.
Yeah, sure.
Should we do it now?
Go.
I just want to say it was a great pleasure for us to take over day 2 on the ABC Grandstand Airways, broadcasting to the people out there and in there. And I just want to thank everyone for their nice messages and support. Lots of people sent nice messages, especially on Patreon, saying they were really proud, and that was kind of weak and indicative of the general demise of Australian cricket
decline.
culture.
And the youth, and the decline in the youth. Soft, lacking resilience.
Yeah, not demise, decline. That's what I was trying to say.
I know. I think demise as well.
Yeah.
Impending demise.
And so that was great. It was great to have Buff just staring at us when we were doing it.
Yeah,
and
so
Jim
that
Maxwell.
was the part. If people who did catch us, whether like over the airwaves or saw some of the clips that went up on Instagram, one of the great camera angles for me as well, I have to say. But keep that one, please. Yeah, we were overlooking the Optus Stadium there while we were chatting in the comm box. We had our earphones in and the I guess the microphone that goes to the mouth, and just behind us, you're looking at 1 meter away while we did our entire 25-minute show, broadcasting to the wide brown land of the nation over the airwaves, taking over the airwaves, was staring down at us was Jim Maxwell and Darren Lehman, which is that's probably a new experience for us, looking at each other doing a show.
Yeah.
We're used to things going out to a lot of people, I suppose, and when you do it in a room and no one else is looking at you, it's fine because you just forget that other people are listening.
No one listens to
But when
this.
you're doing it and, a living legend of broadcasting is just watching you from less than 100 centimetres away.
And also Jim Maxwell.
And then Buff is there,
Yeah.
having a look at you too, and you've never really met him before.
Never really met him.
It's a layer. It's a layer.
Yeah.
But you sort of take it on board. But yeah,
I don't know what the broadcasting equivalent is. I wanted to turn around and kick him over, but that's
great shout from you though. Thanks for all the messages. It was very exhilarating to do that.
and also thanks to the people that sent messages that have sent us stuff on Channel 7 going out during the coverage so far. So we'll be doing, when we're saying we're doing commentary, and we did test commentary, it's actually for the first Big Bash game, which is the Perth Scorchies against Melbourne Green.
Yes.
We'll be doing alternate commentary.
That'll be for 7+.
That's 7+. And we also have a pin now. We've finally received a pin.
Yeah. We've been lobbying for 5 to 6 years for a 7 pin.
Yeah, which you can put on a lapel.
Lapel and blazer.
Yeah,
and
which we don't wear.
We've never received one, and then we bumped into the wonderful Lexi in the comm box and jokingly said to continue the joke, a tired, deeply fatigued joke, which is pretty much our shtick.
That's our shtick.
where's our 7 pin? And then she just literally reached into her pocket and gave us one.
She pulled
And
them
we're
out of her tights.
It's like,
yeah.
was that it?
Yeah. Oh.
Is that all it took? Anyway, people are fascinated by that.
That's it, yeah. Pomp and circumstance. All right, hashtag AskTGC. As you guys know, is brought to you by Smith Optics Australia. What a show it's been, Pezza. Glenn Maxwell on the show.
I'm donning.
Meltdown. You're donning him now.
To cover my tears.
We made a call out. Now I saw a lot of people out there in the West just covering the old covering the peepers there, covering
American
the peepers,
pies.
covering the American pies with Smith Optics. We've talked about the Chroma Pops, the frame text, the field collection. Now Pezza. Cummins did drop a catch whilst wearing the verts, but Usman Khawaja dropped easier catches, and he was not wearing He wasn't wearing any Wildcats or any verts.
And so did Virat Kohli. He dropped the catch
in a crew neck,
and he was wearing a crew neck, and he wasn't wearing Smith Optics.
Yeah, what an idiot!
What an idiot! Except that what that effectively did was keep Marnus in to embarrass him further.
It actually it hindered him.
Yeah, that's right. But he still cost India 2 runs. But if he was wearing Smith Optics, he gets rid of Marnus.
I've seen a lot of people like this style of sunglass as well, like the full face coverage is certainly in trends. Now, I think that Smith Optics has set the trend here.
Yes,
these are the OGs.
well said.
Other brands are available if you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Okay?
Sorry. No. Let's be fair. If you are somebody who likes to subscribe to and consume inferior products, be our guest.
Oh, go for it.
Purchase the other products.
Go for it.
If you like to consume things that are simply copying the trends of market leaders, then by all means buy those inferior products. If you enjoy market leadership, if you enjoy the best that something has to offer, and if you enjoy a 25% discount to go with that, then please be our guest. You are invited to purchase Smith Optics using the code FAST.
Yeah. And it's the season is, I mean, we actually missed it, but it was 30. How hot was it, Charlie, on the weekend? 36 degrees, Charlie says. 36 degrees, okay, and that means that'll stay forever. You can wear these at the tennis if you're in Melbourne.
You can wear these at home.
You can
close the doors, shut the blinds to keep the heat out. If you're sort of averse to putting your air conditioning on because you grew up that way, and it's just the idea of having a regulated temperature is not as important as being frugal for other sort of depression related reasons, and by that I mean the Great Depression, not the mental health phenomenon.
If you are in bed and your miso soup has got the brightness on the phone up too much, and she's jacked up the brightness, okay, and you're in bed and you think, where are my Smith Optics?
That's right.
Put those on, have a snooze,
if you're
have a kip.
dressing up for sexual proclivities and want to cosplay Brett the Hitman Hart or British Bulldog from WWF early 90s, then buy Smith Optics. And I have always said that. Fuck, where'd that come from?
You even made Charlie laugh. That's when you know it's good.
36 degrees outside. The blinds are down. You don't have the aircon on because of frugality reasons. You're naked. You've got Smith Optics on. You've got the Hitman Hart.
Your miso's got a phone jacked up at full brightness.
That's right, full brightness. You're feeling frisky in a frugal environment. You're Brett the Hitman Hart. You're British Bulldog. You got your Smith Optics, 25% off using the code FAST. Fucking what more do you want?
Decent, hard-working Australian says, when's the Big Bash start? Good little twink said, bucket on Bonts League, when start? Samuel says, reckon Clive Rose was stiff in the IPL auction.
Dave Warner missed out.
Financial advisor said, do Rick Finlay's hard drives deserve to be rated by the AFP or put in a museum?
Harsh.
That is harsh. Well, put in a museum.
See, we've got too many conflicts of interest now. Oh, I guess we didn't for James Brayshaw.
Gareth Southmouthgate. Sorry, Sidemouthgate. Who has worse financial mismanagement, Eric Ten Hag or Punjab Kings?
Well,
Pepper Pay Pig, bush horse with the most alpha. Any danger of the Asian century?
Yeah. That's the other thing that's missed out with this whole riff conversation. It's just like, firstly, what Hazelwood said was completely straightforward and fine. He's a guy from the country. It's just like, you asked me about run scoring, just leave it to the guys who score runs. I literally bat 11.
It does seem like it was a normal thing to say.
It was completely fine. It was in good faith. He was speaking in a straightforward manner. In fact, the reaction to Hazelwood, and I'm sorry this has been left to like the 2-hour mark or whatever the fuck, is exactly why players are media trained and say fucking nothing. You know, he's just like, ask the batters. They're the ones who score runs. He just gets twisted to like...
He bats 11.
Mate, to like... And if he did have the attitude of, any danger of the batter scoring runs, completely justified. It doesn't mean that there's a rift in the side, or a riff that maybe six and out are playing. But
Or maybe Marnus goes back and plays for the Riff.
that's right, exactly. It doesn't mean that, but it's lazy. There's so many ways to kind of to skin the cat of what might be about to hit Australian cricket, but to confect a rift when there is none is that's annoying.
Jumbo says YouTube bunts. How much?
Less than you'd think.
Yeah.
Less than you'd think, to be clear.
Here goes Elevator. How am I supposed to eat prawns at Christmas without saying Dipsy's head every time I put it in my seafood sauce? Will I be disowned by my family, or should they probably rightly call the AFP?
You have to sign up to AskTGC for that one.
You're going to have to.
Yep.
He goes favourite stripper. Not sure what that means, but I'm into it. Just got home from what they call sixes. Hit Warney for a few sixes. Felt very disrespectful too soon.
Oh, I see.
Noticed that Joe Root hit 32 on world class level. I hit 6 (brackets 2). Could I play for England? He goes, does the miso soup want a better engagement ring now the YouTube Indian bunts is in? Just a thought. Nah. Ramiz Rajaja, footy when start. Jacob Bethel, good.
Guess we'll find out.
Salt Lick of the Tism. How good was Scotland the other day? Ben Duckett's Beady Little Lies. Olympics pod, where is? Chiteshwar Prachara Sport. Sydney Swans time trial, who win? These are all some of the great questions available.
It's the zeitgeist of our members on AskTGC Fridays, really. This is the sort of chat you can join in on.
All right, well, it's a meltdown. It's happened. I hope we've revelled in this together. We shared in the grief together. It's a wonderful show, Pezza. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
Thank you very much to Glenn Maxwell. We'll see you guys on the internet real soon. Cheers.